He's considered to be the oldest human mummy found intact, and scientists believe he died more than 5,000 years ago.
Thought to be light-skinned and hairy, but new research finds he was more likely dark-skinned and balding.
DNA sequencing is evolutionary way figure out our background and history. And in a recent and groundbreaking scientific experiment, researchers have successfully decoded the genetic blueprint of Ötzi the Iceman, an ancient mummy preserved in ice for over 5,000 years. By sequencing his DNA, scientists have gained shocking insights into his ancestry, health, and appearance. But what shocking discovery have they made? Join us as we unravel the astonishing findings of Ötzi's DNA that shocked scientists. Discovery, the frozen man. The story of Ötzi, the Iceman, is one that has captivated scientists and explorers for ages. He's a mummy who lived about 5,300 years ago and was found in the icy Alps between Austria and Italy in 1991. It was a big surprise when he was discovered. Two tourists, Helmut and Erika Simon, were hiking in the Ötztal Alps when they saw something sticking out of the ice. At first, they thought it was trash or a lost backpack, but it turned out to be a preserved human body. They were shocked and scared, thinking it might be a recent accident victim. They took pictures and marked the spot before rushing down the mountain to get help. The next day, experts went up to the glacier to check it out. They tried to get the body out of the ice using drills and axes, but bad weather stopped them. They had to leave the body partly uncovered and cover it with a tarp. Lots of people came to see the site, including journalists and famous climbers like Hans Kamland and Reinhold Messner. At first, everyone thought the body was from a modern hiker who died recently. But on September 22nd, a forensic expert named Rainer Henn came and found out something shocking. He saw that the body and its stuff were really old, like from the Copper Age, around 3000 BC. There were tattoos on the body and an old copper axe nearby, which was a big clue. Henn told archaeologist Konrad Spindler about his discovery. They decided to take the body and items to Innsbruck for more research. The next day, they got the body and some stuff like a bow, dagger, and net out of the ice and flew them to Innsbruck in a helicopter. In Innsbruck, experts from different fields like archaeology, anthropology, and genetics studied them. They did tests like carbon dating, X-rays, and DNA tests to learn more about Ötzi's life and death. The frozen mummy that rewrote history. On an ordinary day in September 1991, two hikers set out on a journey in the beautiful Alps, a mountain range in Austria and Italy. Little did they know, their adventure would lead to an incredible discovery that would interest the world and change history. As they trekked through the rugged terrain, they stumbled upon what seemed to be a frozen body. It was a shocking sight, and at first, they thought it might be the remains of a modern mountaineer who had met a tragic end in the harsh alpine environment. The body was frozen solid in the ice, making it hard to see any details about who it was or where it came from. The hikers decided to alert the authorities about their findings. The body was carefully removed from the ice and taken for further examination. It was then that the true significance of their discovery began to unfold. Scientists realized that it was not the body of a modern mountaineer at all. The clothing, tools, and physical features suggested it belonged to a much earlier period. It was no ordinary mummy. It was a mummy that had been perfectly preserved in ice for over 5,000 years. For the scientific community, this was an incredibly rare discovery and a valuable opportunity to study a specimen from the Copper Age. The mummy was named Ötzi, after the Alps where he was found. Ötzi's discovery provided a fascinating glimpse into the lives of our ancient ancestors. It was a landmark moment in archaeology, challenging our understanding of prehistoric life and raising many intriguing questions. Who was Ötzi? What was his life like? How did he die? The answers to these questions are not clear, but the journey to uncover them has just begun. Ötzi remains a man of mystery, but his discovery has opened up a new window into the past, offering valuable insights into the lives of ancient people. Ötzi's discovery sparked a flurry of scientific investigation and research. Who was the icy man Ötzi? After the Iceman was found, scientists were eager to learn more about him. They wondered who he was and what his life was like. They found out that he wasn't a recent victim of the cold mountains, but he lived a long time ago during the Copper Age. This made him one of the oldest preserved mummies ever discovered. People speculated about his life. Was he a shepherd taking care of animals in the mountains? Or was he a warrior who died in a battle? Clues from his clothing and tools hinted at his lifestyle. He wore a cloak made of grass and shoes filled with hay to keep warm. He also had a copper axe and arrows, suggesting he was skilled at hunting and defending himself. But these items didn't tell the whole story. As scientists dug deeper, they found more surprising details. His teeth showed he ate a lot of grains, and his leg bones suggested he walked a lot, maybe over hills. He had many injuries, including a deep cut on his hand and broken ribs. These injuries hinted at a tough life, possibly as a warrior or hunter, but other items, like a flint knife and a fire starter kit, suggested he might have been of higher social status. People were fascinated by the mystery of the Iceman's identity. His life and death gave a glimpse into ancient times. Each new detail was added to the puzzle, but the full picture remained unclear. Was he a shepherd, a warrior, or something else? The mystery kept people guessing, but maybe the real value of finding the Iceman isn't in knowing all the answers. Instead, it's in the questions it raises. One fascinating aspect of the Iceman's story is the advanced technology used by scientists to analyze his remains. Through radiocarbon dating, researchers determined that the Iceman lived around 5,300 years ago, shedding light on a period known as the Copper Age. This era marked a significant transition in human history, with advancements in metallurgy and the use of copper tools. These findings offer insights into the daily routines and survival strategies of prehistoric communities living in mountainous regions, sequencing Ötzi's DNA. In the year 2000, scientists began a big project to study the DNA of a famous mummy, the Iceman. This was a big deal because it helped us learn more about ancient DNA, which was quite new and tricky to work with back then. They had to be careful because the DNA samples were old and easily damaged. But because the Iceman was frozen in ice for over 5,000 years, his DNA was surprisingly well preserved. The cold weather where he was found helped keep his DNA in good shape. However, the scientists had to be super careful not to mix his old DNA with any modern DNA, as that could mess up the results. They used fancy new technologies to read his DNA code, which was like putting together a complicated puzzle. These new technologies were a big deal because they allowed the scientists to read the entire DNA code instead of just bits and pieces. One of the surprising things they found out was that Ötzi's ancestors were mostly farmers from what's now Turkey. These were the folks who moved from Anatolia to Europe around 8,000 years back, bringing farming and new stuff with them. Ötzi's DNA showed he was mostly related to these Anatolian farmers, like 92%. Only a tiny bit, around 8%, came from other groups, like hunter-gatherers in Europe. This hints that Ötzi lived in a place in the Alps, where not many people from other areas mixed in. Today, his closest relatives live in Sardinia, an island in the Mediterranean Sea. They also have lots of that Anatolian farmer ancestry. Another interesting finding was about Ötzi's looks. From his mummified body, people thought he had light skin and hair, but his DNA tells a different story. He had dark skin, dark eyes, and not much hair on his head. His skin color was similar to folks from Southern Europe or North Africa, and his eyes were brown or hazel. The reason for his hair loss? It's likely linked to a gene that runs in families and makes hair fall out. Ötzi got a version of this gene that makes him 6 times more likely to go bald. He also had genes that upped his chances of getting chubby and diabetes, which are big issues for folks nowadays. Studying the Iceman's DNA revealed how ancient humans moved around and evolved. By comparing his DNA with DNA from people today, scientists could guess how ancient humans traveled and changed over time. They could even look for connections between his DNA and things like diseases, diet, and what he looked like. Medical records of the legendary Ötzi. In 2012, scientists got a closer look into Ötzi the Iceman's health using new technology and his remarkably well-preserved body. Through detailed analyses, they made some fascinating discoveries. Firstly, they found out that Ötzi had Lyme disease, making him the earliest known case of this illness. Lyme disease comes from a bacterium called Borrelia, usually spread by infected black-legged ticks. Symptoms can include fever, fatigue, headaches, muscle and joint pains, and swollen lymph nodes. If not treated, it can affect the joints, heart, and nervous system. Ötzi having Lyme disease suggests it's been around for thousands of years, affecting humans for a long time. Another surprising finding was that Ötzi was lactose intolerant, meaning he couldn't digest lactose. a sugar in milk and dairy. This intolerance was likely common among ancient people since many couldn't digest lactose after infancy. This discovery sheds light on the diet and lifestyle of people from Ötzi's time, the Copper Age. Perhaps most relatable to us today is Ötzi's heart disease. Researchers found evidence of arteriosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, in his remains. It's unusual to find this in someone who lived over 5,000 years ago, challenging the idea that heart disease is a modern problem. It suggests that our ancestors faced similar health issues, despite living in a different era. These health discoveries give us a glimpse into Ötzi's life and the challenges he faced, similar to our own. They also show the importance of studying ancient remains. By understanding our ancestors' health, we can learn about the evolution of human health and disease. Moving beyond health, research on Ötzi's genetics took a personal turn. Studies in the Alpine region showed a surprising level of genetic continuity over thousands of years. Despite the many migrations and changes in Europe's history, there's been stability in this area's genetics. This research helps us understand population genetics better, showing how certain genetic markers remain across generations. It gives clues about ancient human migrations and settlements, weaving a complex tapestry of human ancestry. This study also highlights advances in genetic testing and analysis. The ability to trace a direct genetic link over millennia showcases the precision and power of modern genetic research. It opens up new avenues for exploring ancient human history and understanding our connections to our ancestors, revealing Ötzi lifestyle. In 2016, researchers made an amazing discovery about Ötzi's living relatives. Then, in 2019, they dug deeper into Ötzi's life by studying his clothing and tools. This was a big step forward in understanding Ötzi's lifestyle and the world he lived in. Scientists focused on the things found with Ötzi, like his clothes, weapons, and tools, which were all preserved in ice. These items were like a treasure trove, giving us a peek into how people in the Copper Age dressed and worked. By analyzing the DNA of these materials, scientists wanted to know which animals the materials came from. This would tell them what resources Ötzi and his people had and used. The results were fascinating. Ötzi's clothes and gear were made from many different animals, showing that people back then knew a lot about using different materials. For example, his coat and leggings were made from goat and cattle hides, while his shoes were made from bear skin. Even his quiver, used for arrows, was made from deer skin. This variety showed a deep understanding of how different animal skins worked for different purposes. The DNA analysis also revealed things about how people interacted with animals back then. They used both domesticated and wild animals for their needs, showing they relied on both farming and hunting. Finding bear DNA was especially interesting because it meant they could hunt big, dangerous animals. The different types of animal DNA in Ötzi's belongings also tell us about the diverse wildlife in the Alpine region at that time. It suggests there were lots of different animals around, making it a rich and varied ecosystem. Studying Ötzi's things also gives us clues about the culture and society of his time. The craftsmanship of his clothes and gear shows that people back then valued skill and mastery. It also hints that there might have been trade or interactions between different groups, since some materials might have come from far away. This research in 2019 added a new layer to our understanding of Ötzi's life and the Copper Age. It showed how looking at genetics can help us see more than just human history. It can tell us about the environment and culture too. This research didn't just look at Ötzi's belongings. It connected archaeology with biology to give us a fuller picture of the past. And it's not just about clothes and tools. Even Ötzi's last meal can tell us something important. Ötzi's history and background. Following the enlightening discoveries about Ötzi's clothing and tools, researchers in 2022 turned their attention to another personal aspect of his life, his diet. This line of investigation aimed to figure out what Ötzi ate before he died, giving us a glimpse into his eating habits and the food available during his time. By analyzing the contents of Ötzi's stomach using fancy DNA and molecular techniques, scientists uncovered interesting details about his last meal. They found out that Ötzi's final feast was a mix of meat and grains, showing that he had a well-rounded diet suited to his mountainous environment. The main part of Ötzi's last meal was the meat of an alpine ibex, a type of wild goat native to the mountains. This choice of meat not only showed that Ötzi was a skilled hunter, but also highlighted how important hunting was for getting high-protein food in his community. It made sense for Ötzi to eat ibex meat because these animals were all over the place in the Alps. Along with the ibex meat, traces of einkorn wheat were also found in Ötzi's stomach. Einkorn wheat was one of the first types of wheat that people grew, and it was a big part of the diet back then. Finding einkorn wheat in Ötzi's stomach suggests that farming and growing grains were also important in his society. People relied on both hunting and farming to get enough food. Studying the food particles and their makeup gave clues about how Ötzi's food was prepared and eaten. The meat was either eaten fresh or dried or smoked to keep it from spoiling without fridges. Grains, on the other hand, might have been eaten as they were or made into some kind of early bread or porridge. It tells us that people in Ötzi's time had some basic cooking skills and knew how to process food. Looking into Ötzi's last meal in 2022 not only helped us understand his life better, but also gave us an idea of what people in the Copper Age ate. Their diet was diverse and suited to their high-altitude environment, combining hunting and farming. This shows that they were pretty clever at finding different ways to get food and stay healthy. Studying Ötzi's diet also gives us hints about how healthy people were back then. The variety of foods Ötzi ate and their nutritional value suggest that people in his time knew a lot about the environment around them and how to use it to stay healthy. The research into Ötzi's life adds an important layer to our understanding of ancient people's lifestyles, health, and eating habits. Finding Ötzi's DNA is a big deal because it shows how far science has come. From getting the DNA out to analyzing it, every step is a big achievement in ancient genetics. But the story of Ötzi is far from over. Ongoing research keeps revealing new things about him, the time he lived in, and what it was like back then. As technology gets better, we'll keep learning more about this fascinating figure from the Copper Age. Ötzi's mysterious death. In the cold embrace of the Ötztal Alps, a discovery frozen in time appeared, fascinating the world with its mysterious tale. Ötzi the Iceman, a remarkable artifact from the distant past, met his end around 5,300 years ago. Yet his frozen body provides clues that continue to puzzle scientists and historians. Ötzi's journey began in the late Stone Age, a time when humans were shifting from wandering hunters to settled farmers. He traveled through the rugged terrain of the Alps, likely part of a group of people who wandered these lands for survival. But fate had a different plan for him, one full of mystery and interest. One intriguing part of Ötzi's story is how he died. By carefully examining his remains, scientists have pieced together a story of the events leading up to that fateful moment. Ötzi's body showed signs of violence, like an arrowhead stuck in his shoulder, and signs of injury to his head. Finding an arrowhead in Ötzi's shoulder sparked questions about how he died. Was he attacked by rival groups, caught in ancient conflicts, or did he become a victim of personal revenge, meeting his end from someone he knew? Further investigation of Ötzi's remains revealed more evidence about his final moments. Studying his clothing and tools suggested that he wasn't caught off guard, but was going about his daily life. Ötzi carried arrows and a well-made copper axe, showing he was ready for the challenges of the wilderness. As scientists dug deeper into Ötzi's story, they found more hidden within his frozen grave. Studying isotopes in his teeth gave clues about his diet and movements, hinting at his lifestyle and the places he lived. Yet, despite what we've learned from Ötzi's remains, questions remain about how he died. Did he become a target, or did he stumble into trouble by chance? The lack of defensive wounds puzzled researchers, making them wonder what happened before his death. One idea is that Ötzi might have been in a fight with rival groups over land and resources. The presence of a deadly arrowhead in his shoulder suggests he was hit from behind, caught off guard by someone he didn't see. That strike would have left him unable to defend himself against more attacks. Another theory is that Ötzi's death could have come from a personal fight, maybe starting from a chance meeting in the wilderness. In this case, Ötzi might have crossed paths with someone else, leading to a fight that turned deadly. The lack of defensive wounds could be because he didn't see the attack coming and couldn't protect himself. Even though thousands of years have passed, Ötzi's story still captures people's imaginations worldwide. His frozen body brings to us our shared humanity and the mysteries of the past waiting to be discovered. As scientists work to uncover the secrets of Ötzi's life and death, they shed light on ancient history for future generations. Preserving Ötzi the Iceman. Preserving Ötzi the Iceman's body today is quite remarkable. It's not just about keeping him from decaying now that he's out of the ice. The journey his body has taken, from the glacier to the museum, has been complex and demanding. Special measures are taken to make sure his amazing condition stays the same. At first, the challenge was moving him from the remote, high-up place where he was found to a place where experts could study and protect him. This was not easy. His body was very fragile, easily affected by changes in temperature and moisture. When they tried to get him out of the ice using loud tools like jackhammers and chainsaws, it caused some damage to his body and the tools themselves. Later, a helicopter carefully carried him to a nearby morgue. There, he was put in a cold room to keep his condition. Then came the big task of finding the right place to study him and his belongings. They chose Innsbruck University in Austria first. Here, they did many tests like radiocarbon dating, DNA checks, X-rays, and CT scans. These tests told them a lot about him: how old he was, his health, what he ate, where his ancestors came from, and even how he died. After 7 years at Innsbruck University, Ötzi went to South Tyrol, Italy. Here, he would be studied more and shown at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano. He was put in a special room made just for him, designed to be like the glacier where he was found. The room was dark and cold, with lots of humidity. People could see his body through a window in the room, but only for a short time to stop it from getting too much light and heat. But the special room wasn't the only way they kept him safe. A team of experts took care of him, using different methods to stop him from decaying and keep him in good shape. They regularly sprayed his body with clean water every few months to stop it from drying out and getting cracks. Also, they covered his body with a thin layer of special fibers to stop bad bacteria and fungi. They took lots of pictures and scans of his body to check for any changes or damage over time. The things they found with his body on the glacier, like a copper axe, a flint dagger, a bow and arrows, and more, are kept safely in the museum. His clothes, like a fur robe and hat, leather shoes, and other items, are kept in special rooms with the right temperature and moisture levels. They use special things on them to stop them from getting ruined and bugs from eating them. This way, they can stay the same for many years for people to study and enjoy. Possessing ownership rights. The tale of Ötzi the Iceman caused quite a stir worldwide, grabbing everyone's attention and hitting the headlines. He got his name from the Ötztal Alps, where they found him frozen in ice. People also called him the Iceman, Frozen Fritz, and Trojan Iceman, which added to the mystery surrounding him. He became famous, popping up in books, documentaries, exhibitions, and even a movie, all because of his ancient story. But finding him also stirred up debates and arguments, especially about who should own him and how to take care of his body. A legal fight broke out between Austria and Italy over where he was found. The spot was right near the border, and it had a tricky history of changing territories. Even though he was found on the Italian side, Austria said he was theirs and took him to Innsbruck for more studying. But Italy said no way, arguing that since he was found on their turf and his clothes and stuff pointed to him being from the Southern Alps, he belonged to them. They even said his DNA matched up with Italians today. After a lot of arguing, they decided to share him, and he ended up in the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano, Italy. But that wasn't the end of the ownership drama. The people who live in the Ötztal Valley, where they found him, also said he belonged to them. They're a small group in Italy with their language and traditions. To them, he's like a special ancestor, adding another twist to the argument. They wanted him back, saying they should have a say in how he's studied and treated. They insisted on giving him a proper burial, according to their customs. They saw him as more than just a thing. He represented their identity and history, a way to keep their culture alive. However, the governments of Italy and Austria disagreed. They said he belonged to everyone, not just one group, because he was a part of our shared past. They argued that studying him could teach us a lot about where we came from and how civilizations started. Plus, they thought he could bring in tourists and help the local economy. So they said he should stay where he was, for everyone to see and learn from. The argument about who owns Ötzi digs into some deep and touchy subjects, like cultural heritage, national identity, and human rights. Surprisingly, later surveys in October 1991 found something interesting. Despite what people first thought, it turned out that a certain place where he was found was 92.56 meters inside Italy, matching what Italy said they owned in 1919. At first, South Tyrol said they owned it, but they eventually let the University of Innsbruck do a lot of research on it. Since 1998, his bones have been shown at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano, which is the main city in South Tyrol. What's your opinion on sequencing the DNA of Ötzi the Iceman? Let us have your answer in the comments below.